Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the Trump and Musk publicity fight over the spending bill. Loaded up for discussion today. We've got a blow-by-blow account of what's going on with Trump and Musk, and obviously, most importantly, the effects on the markets to the extent there have been any. We'll also be talking about Circle stock soaring to $96 in pre-markets this morning. That IPO'd at around in the early 30s. Pretty impressive stuff. And then finally, new layer 1 blockchain stable backed by Bitfinex and USDT has announced. Very curious to hear Brett's breakdown on that a little bit later, because they've also got Plasma. So want to dive into the differences there. I think that will be super important. We also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general discussion on market movements. Delighted to say I've got Legendary and Brett in the co-host seats with me today. But just a reminder, friends, before we get into it, nothing that we say is financial advice. This market is incredibly risky, and we do not know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it's Friday. It's the 6th of June. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, doing quite well. Getting ready for the weekend. I have 2 days of playing golf planned to advance that skill set a bit more. So it's going to be, 10 hours of golf over the weekend for me?
10 hours?
Yes, sir.
That's bold. I'm usually tired by if we're doing it full 18, like the second half of the back 9, I'm over it. I'm over it.
I think my perfect amount of golf would be like 12 to 13 holes, like 1.5. The final stretch is usually tiring. Ledge, I think you've made I think this is you going in with like your brain of how to like smash something. I'm going to put all the time in, but you haven't played golf before. 10 hours of golf. But how are you playing? Is it going to be on the range? Is it going to be on the course? 10 hours is so much.
It's going to be everything.
You're doing a working day of golf.
Yeah, it's a working day of golf that's planned.
You're going to work. So on Saturday, you're working, and your work is golf.
That is the idea. Yeah, that is the idea.
I like it. So yeah, like complete professionalism. You're just going to clock in at 9 o'clock in the morning and clock out at 5 p.m. for dinner. Okay, that's fun. Brett, how are things your side coming up to the weekend? How are things with you?
Been a little busy, I'm not gonna lie. We have a special combination of my personal life. I like my my girlfriend's mother and her boyfriend are over, so I'm hosting. That's the thing. I don't have a huge place, so we're juggling. And then in the work life stuff, the Mafia 2 stuff rolled up. So I'm starting to kick off a lot of interviews, starting to actually meet some people that are coming in for the next wave of applications to be built on Mega ETH. So a lot of fun, a lot of meeting some weird, interesting people, and weird in good ways, right? Like we're trying to get a good diverse group of executors. So yeah, it's been fun, but busy.
When is the expected timeline for when you'll be able to announce who's in this Mafia 2 cohort? And for people who are maybe a little less familiar, the Mafia cohort is the cohort of next builders who will be kind of not brought under the Mega ETH banner to kind of be helped to be pushed forward. Sure, there'll be other apps around, but this is the core group of builders.
Yeah, it's our accelerator. So it's people that we're giving extra resources to help them find co-founders, PMF, build their app, do raises, go to market, all this shit, right? We spend a lot of time and energy on these teams specifically, but we have an open builders program too. Yeah, I would imagine, I think by the 16th is when we plan to have it locked in and announced. And then, hell, next month, we're all going to Copenhagen. So the 15 teams we choose will then immediately be yeeted into a 30-day experience at a hotel that we rented in Copenhagen. We're all going to be hanging out, building, meeting each other, fucking around, finding out for a month.
I was thinking, can we come? Can we just come say hello?
Yeah, you can swing in. Yeah,
I think I'm going to swing in because I was like,
swing in.
June is super busy, and Copenhagen's not too far. I think I'm gonna swing down. Say hello.
You should swing in. I'll be there the second half. I'm not going to do the full 30, but I'll be there the last 2 weeks.
Okay, nice. We haven't done some modern market admin before live on the show. Sometimes we use the intros to just do all of our administration. So yeah, let's just let's sort those flights out. We'll do that. I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to the announcement to see who you've got, who you guys pick for the next cohort. So
Some weird names, like the accolades are weird, like left field, like, accomplished, but like you're gonna hear me go, what the fuck? Like, oh, it's awesome.
I like it. I'm looking forward to it. Before we get into the main stuff today, then, to get everyone up to speed, Oxy, your hand's raised. Welcome to the stage, my man. How you doing? What's up?
Doing well, thank you. Speaking to Legendary's golf weekend, so I'm doing something similar. We do a family golf tournament every year where we golf for 4 days straight, 99 holes over the next 4 days. So we'll have to stay in touch, Legendary, see how you're holding up after that.
Holy
After a
shit,
couple hours.
that sounds very intense. But
Yeah, it's so
also,
much fun. I'll do it forever.
nice.
Are you doing a scramble? There's no way you can have them play their own.
Yeah, so we play 18 holes for 4 days, just your own ball, and then 2 of the days we play an extra 9 where we'll scramble.
Jesus
But
Christ.
it's 11 nines altogether kind of deal. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's so much fun though.
What a marathon! What a marathon! Well, got to keep us in the loop, Oxy. I'm still hopeful there'll be a modern market golf something at some point in time. I don't think we'll do it this year. But
Yeah,
maybe.
give me a bit of time to build up some skills.
Yeah, Legendary's got to do multiple 10-hour golf sessions before we get there. But maybe 2020, 2026. That's the aim. Right. Let's get into the main stuff though, guys, to get you up to speed with everything you need to know. Starting with the price action of the majors as usual. We have Bitcoin. It's actually just down 1% after a bit of the drama yesterday. Dipped down to as low as 100K, I think, or around 100, 101, back up to 103.6. ETH is down, unsurprisingly. ETH is down 4% to 2.4K. XRP is down a couple of percent to 2.15. BNB is down 3% to 643. Sol's down 2% to 148. Checking in our other favorite alt majors, Hyperliquid is actually flat in the end at 34.6, went down to 32 yesterday on the dip, and Sui is down a couple of percent to $3.10. Getting into the meme coin side of things, I think we are mostly red here, apart from Fartcoin. So Doge is down 6, Pepe is down 4, Trump's down 10. I think that's also linked to it was kind of news that some insider was shorting the Trump coin, or World Liberty Fi advisor was shorting the Trump coin. I don't know if that was published by Look on Chain. I don't know if it's like 100% verified, but so there's that. And also the advisors of the Trump meme coin creators are separate from the Trump team at World Liberty Fi, right? And World Liberty Fi filed a cease and desist letter to the Trump coin team, who were planning to do this wallet with Magic Eden. So I don't know, maybe all of that's in the mix. It's also just a red day in general in the market, so it could be that too. Bonk's down 4%. Fartcoin, as I said, up 20%, almost back to $1.10. Everything else is red. So Fartcoin's just completely bucking the trend here. Popcat's also up 4%. All the other memes are down probably single digits, more or less. I'm kind of generalizing here, but as you can see, Legendary's showing on screen, giving it a bit of a scroll. You can see what other coins are moving where. Getting into the headlines themselves, got 3 to talk about today. I think we're going to talk about Trump and Musk's publicity, or not a publicity fight, I don't think, a very public fight over the spending bill. Elon accused Trump of appearing in the Epstein files. Trump threatens to revoke some SpaceX government contracts. In the end, S&P was unaffected. Tesla was down 14%. Bitcoin dropped to 100K before bouncing back to 103. Kind of touch on some of the spat and consider to what extent it's relevant to the market. I'm not entirely sure that it is hugely, but we'll talk about it in a bit. Also, huge news. Circle stock soared to $96 in pre-markets, IPO'd at early $30 yesterday. Huge win for those early investors. Legendary is going to break down what's going on there. And then finally, final headline, Stable, another L1 blockchain backed by Bitfinex and USDT. Kind of confused on this one. I'm obviously we've got the Plasma pre-sale taking place this weekend. Very intrigued for Bread's breakdown in a little bit of what this new L1, also backed by Bitfinex, also involved with USDT involvement, what this means. What's the comparison, or what do we need to know here? So curious to get into that later today. Some notable price action, as I said, Fartcoin surged, ETH underperformed all the majors, down to 2.4K again, and Trump was down 10% on that various drama. Notable sales, Ledge, anything going on the NFT side?
It's a bit of a red day on the NFT side of things. Pudgies are down another 2% to 8.8 ETH. Bored Apes are down 1% to 13 ETH. Azukis are the ones countering the trend. They're basically flat at 2.08 ETH, but also still down 9% over the week. Moonbirds have corrected down as well by 7%. Miladies are down 5%. So pretty red day for NFTs. The other collection I want to point out quickly is Project Ian, because we mentioned it to do with Murat's coin SPX yesterday, where it was up to 1.2 ETH, was up, I think, 40-ish% or so, has basically given all of that back and is now back to a 1 ETH floor and quote unquote only up 6% over the last 7 days.
Nice. A couple other points to point out. The Infinex Patrons actually had a huge sell-off. They were around $2.30, something like that, all the way down to 1 ETH 1.8. So big sell-off there. That does affect, you know how all of these people in the Yap Run game who are yapping and getting all of these potential points, which should lead to dollar value, because they're getting the U Patrons, which is kind of a synthetic version of future patron NFTs. That is going to be affecting people's rewards. So that $6 million number was based on a higher value of NFT patrons. So if the Infinex patrons themselves dip significantly, that $6 million total number is affected significantly. I don't know how many people are attuned to that, like the details of like where that 6 million comes from. So I thought that'd be good to point out. And then another thing on the NFT side, there was a lot of 16 CryptoPunks yesterday, which sold for 930 ETH. That's about 2.4 mil. This is kind of interesting lore for people still around in 2021. The Pixel Vault Founders DAO, one where I actually was super involved in back in the day, they vaulted 16 CryptoPunks all in one vault on a website called Fractional, which allowed you to fractionalize NFTs and serve ERC20 tokens to all the holders, and those ERC20 tokens represented full ownership of the vault. And so how this worked is, if someone buys the vault, the value that it sold for can get distributed to all of those ERC20 token holders. So the bid was started yesterday. It sold for 2.4 mil, and now the Punks holders, because this token called Punks was distributed to the community, are able to now go in and get their proportional allocation of this 2.4 million. I saw as recently, though, Led, you'll remember this as a Pixel Vault participant, I think the Pixel Vault themselves had as much as 87% of that Punks token. So kind of just all going back to Pixel Vault. Not a huge amount for the community there, but maybe they've been buying the token back.
Did it stay at roughly at parity with the price of all those punks?
I'm almost certain it did not. Like this stuff, those tokens, when they were given out to the community, had no liquidity. All of the things completely crashed. I bet someone might have, there was definitely an opportunity for someone to make a killing here if they thought that these things were ever going to be actually sold again. Because
yeah, just give like a permanent stink bid on the actual token.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm pretty sure people would have been able to accumulate it quite nicely, because there was no liquidity, or maybe that prevented that even happening. So interesting dynamic there for a bunch of CryptoPunks. A final point on it, it appears that the person who bought it commented after saying that they think that they were high when they bought it and they miscalculated, so they're looking to sell a few.
Yeah, they thought there's a punk more in the lot, I think.
So instead of there being,
They
he
thought
thought
there
that
were
there
what?
was 17 and there's actually 16. So now he needs to sell some.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
He's high, Brett. That's why he said it. He bought it because he was high, and then he said that because he's high.
The art of the deal. Like you can't be doing that shit. Like you got to come from a position of strength. Oh, I fucked up, guys, and I need some money. That's not.
And I'm still under the influence of drugs. So
yeah,
this is the new way to deal make.
I saw Oh, okay. That's what that was. I saw Beanie do like a quote tweet, and he said like, "Oh, it's the end of an era." And one of the punks in there kind of looked like his. I thought he was saying like he had listed his or something, but it was. I guess it was just the vault, and one was similar.
No, I think
What's his actual punk in the?
yeah, Beanie doesn't own that punk anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't.
No,
He just still rocks it.
yeah,
His little right click save action.
yeah.
Okay.
It's just the right click save. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Let's double check,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure the punk that you saw on the picture is just like the one that was known to be his.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah.
Question on Infinex, or maybe question or comment. Comment first. Congrats, B. You are number 2 on the cumulative YAP run leaderboard across weeks 1 to 3. And given that you're the Infinex expert, this dump, though, the 20% over the week, 10% over the day, that has nothing to do with a snapshot that happened for the Kaito staking, nothing to do with any other snapshot. So if I wanted to buy now and add a couple more patrons, I'm not buying past a certain snapshot, and it's just the dump that I'm buying. Or
good question. So I don't think it's anything like snapshot related. The thing that everyone needs to bear in mind with Infinex patrons is that there's vesting. So there are 100,000 NFT, 100,000 Infinex patrons that exist, these NFTs. Half of those were put up for sale back in September last year. That was like the community sale. I think like 43,000 was sold instead of 50,000. And so 50 something thousand, the team hold, it's like think of it as their allocation to the patrons. 40 something thousand went to the community. And there was the type of sale, you had 3 options to buy. You could buy one for 5,000 and you could get it unlocked straight away, or ASAP. You could buy one for 3,000, and there was like this, which means that over the next 12 months, you would get it vested under like in certain timeframes. I can't remember when. Or you could buy one for 1,500 and you'd be locked for a full 12 months. And then depending on how many you buy, you vest in a particular way. So there are always patrons coming onto the market. I think this went live around September or October in 2024. So we're pushing towards 1 year into this now. So something for everyone to keep in mind. I guarantee you no one knows this because no one's done the research. There will be a lot of patrons coming, or becoming more available on secondary from 1 year after whenever they went live. The sale took place in September 2024. I can't remember when it actually went live. So even now, so say I bought 6 patrons, which I did, 3 have already vested. And I've got 3 more to vest over the next certain number of months. I can't remember the exact detail. So I don't actually hold my 3 other patrons. They like come to me over increments. So that's just the one thing to bear in mind. So who knows? Maybe there was an additional load of supply that a bunch of people unlocked over the last few days, and therefore they wanted to they kind of wanted to sell. I don't know 100%, but that's just that's the thing that I would keep in mind more for that.
Cool, that's helpful. Thank you.
Cool. And maybe a final thing. There was a small part of the whole thing where apparently they get you a bonus on this Yap run thing, like if you're a holder. And I would bet that most of the people yapping are not actually invested in it. They're just yapping to yap. So I don't know the extent of the bonus, but there is allegedly some bonus. Okay, good stuff. Moving around the rest of the space to get you up to speed with the other news. We've got Uber evaluating stablecoins for potential payments. That's pretty cool. Metaplanet revealed $5.4 billion of equity raised to increase Bitcoin buys. Of course, we're getting that type of news every single day now, realistically, from various companies. We had World Liberty Fi sending a cease and desist letter to the team behind the Trump meme coin who tried to create a crypto wallet with Magic Eden. I don't think we'll see that now for sure. Yuga Labs create proposal to end the ApeCoin DAO. I feel like that's a pretty big deal. DAOs being such a big deal at one point in time, everyone thinking it was going to change the world of work and the way like capital was distributed. Seems like they want to bring that to a close now. They've created a proposal for that. Huge zombie punk loan on Gondi. been a big proponent for Gondi. I'm an investor there. They just have clearly captured the lending market at the moment. $450,000 for 180 days at 15% APR. I just think that's a great stablecoin farm right now, lending on CryptoPunks. And that's it. That's the Web3 Roundup to get you up to speed. Before we get into the main stuff today, boys, let's go to bread first. Anything catching your attention there from the other bits of news?
I mean, that Uber thing's pretty big. Yeah. The thing is, like, with all of these stablecoin updates, it's just like, how does that translate to number go up for me? Where does the value get captured in that situation? Like, it's good for just like proliferation of the technology, like all this stuff gets usage. I wonder what network like they'll support. I wonder, like, when you see like those decisions is what's going to dictate how I believe a lot of like the future industry goes, right? It's like we're seeing all these blockchains and we're going, oh, like anyone like the corpos are only going to use this one because it's the only one that's credibly neutral, right? That's Ethereum. That's the big thing that everyone like touts, right? Like if you're going to store your money, if you're going to do your shit, you're going to do it on Ethereum because Ethereum is the most credibly neutral and the most decentralized shit. Did we over-index on that? Do giant corporations like Uber give a shit, right? Did the story of like Base and all these L2s and then, Solana, are those good enough for them? And if so, it's like, well, okay, well, that's not necessarily good for mainnet. So yeah, like just like I'll be observing that to see like which networks they support to kind of like continue to gather data points on where this industry is going and where the customers of this industry are going, because I think that'll dictate where a lot of value accrues over the coming years.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm definitely looking forward to whatever you have to share on stable in a little bit, like this plasma versus stable conversation. Maybe I'm being naive about it at the moment, but I was definitely confused when I saw that. So curious to learn a bit more there. I want to bring Stats into the conversation though, obviously formerly of Uber. I'd be very curious. Stats, welcome to the stage, man. What are your thoughts here for these kind of corporates like Uber or companies like them, the integration with stables? I know you don't think stables is the most exciting part of the industry in any way, but how do you see people integrating it into the business? Do you think that's something that's going to be important? What are your thoughts?
I don't have strong thoughts on it. When I worked at Uber, I remember even back then, people were trying to get people to be able to pay in Bitcoin. We had a different CEO then. Times were different then. It kind of just never went through. But the idea that they're looking into USDC as a form of payment, I kind of, I'm glad Brad said it. Like, does that impact our bags that much? Is it that big of a deal? I'm not totally sure. I think Uber wants people to be able to pay them as easily and quickly as possible. So if this is becoming a way that could bring them more customers that is regulatorily accepted, then yeah, it's not too surprising to me that people are that they're looking into it. I'd say net probably a positive for the space. But yeah, it's not something that Tesla allowed you to buy in Bitcoin for a while. Like, maybe that was net at the margin good for Bitcoin, but I don't know. I don't really have strong views. Probably at the margin positive. I think companies basically just, as long as every time you pay $1, they're getting $1. I don't think companies really care how you get it to them. So if this is a way that brings them more customers who can pay them easily, then it makes sense that's something that they would try to bring onto their platform.
I like the news for two reasons. I think one of the things that Uber had mentioned with that is that they think they can save money on that. So just that this seems to become also across brokers and more popular thought that stablecoin payment rails actually are cost efficient on the one hand. And then on the public facing side, I think it's just cool because like if that really comes to Uber, that's an app that obviously millions and millions of people use. And when you add a credit card or another payment method, you just see stablecoins there and you've never heard of that. You will just have another touch point in your life where you'll see, oh, okay, stablecoins is a thing. And you'll maybe see that on Shopify, you'll see it on other platforms. And over the course of a couple of years, hopefully, it will become normal to use stablecoins and not really care about blockchain tech and not think it's something weird or exotic. So it's part of a mass adoption process for me.
The normalization of the dollar, of stable dollars.
Yeah, I mean, between that and what was the one recently? Stripe just like implemented on the back end. They're trying to do these payments. I actually just learned. I had a call with a guy who's a pretty big trader. There's actually a crazy amount of currency volume on Binance. Like if you look at the Turkish lira or the Nigerian naira, like the lira every day has like I saw yesterday, it was like $75 million in volume of just people that like get paid and instantly swap into like USDT or USDC, mostly USDT.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
can
just
imagine.
like, yeah, like it's such a useful thing. But like for us in like Western culture, like we don't think like that's not a thing for us to immediately think about.
Yeah, for sure. It's a important one to keep in mind. Oxy, what's your take here?
Yeah, no, I guess maybe just to start, I'm obviously a huge proponent of stable coins. I think as more companies, especially publicly traded companies like Uber, and then obviously now that Circle's publicly traded, I think this is just going to lead to more like regulatory requirements. If you guys remember last year, there was accounting repeal in the United States where you don't have to show crypto on your balance sheet. So that obviously changed a lot about what was actually being looked at by auditors. So now that Circle's publicly traded, I think there's going to have to be some kind of overhaul back to like the old way where auditors are now looking more at the stable, like the stable coins, how they're backed, and then also the crypto on the balance sheet. So although obviously more companies are adopting it, I think it's going to cause a lot more government intervention just to make sure that things aren't going to blow up on us.
Maybe. The thing I'm curious for from the stablecoin perspective is like, or the thing that I'll keep like one eye on is the proportion of treasuries that they are allowed to hold, and like my slight inkling that people in government think that they'll be able to dump treasuries on stablecoin holders by potentially via regulation saying, right, okay, you guys hold treasuries already. What we want to do is if you want to be transacting in stablecoins in this country in this way and be approved by us, you need to up that percentage a little bit. I don't think that, I mean, that's just the one thing I'm keeping one eye on, because it's getting harder to move these treasuries at the moment, I think. So that's the thing I'm keeping an eye on. But let's keep it moving. Let's get into the headlines. Ledge, unless there's anything else catching your attention before we get there.
No, let's get into the main discussion. I remember the first time, I'm not going to take the headline away from it, but I remember the first time it was a headline that Elon was criticizing the big, beautiful bill. And it was the show that I did with Brett. And I was like, what is there to say? It's just one post where he called it an abomination. And I didn't expect to see this amount of escalation. And I didn't follow all of it because it was out for dinner yesterday and I missed a good part of that. So I'm actually excited to see the full breakdown of what had happened.
Well, Decrypt actually did quite a fun, well, it's not that fun, but like it's a helpful like blow by blow, tweet by tweet. I don't think you can even really call it an analysis, but just getting people up to speed with what happened. So let's go through it and try to think it through some of the implications here, if there are any at all. Shout out to the Stats, who I think basically called this ages ago and said, like, look, these guys, these two egos in the room are way too big. They cannot get along for very long, and that has proven to be correct. So it looks like the first thing Elon said was a few days ago, where he said, I'm sorry, I just can't stand it anymore. The massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Ledge, when you quoted him by saying it was an abomination, that's come in hotter than just calling it an abomination. Massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill. Disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Moving things forward, Trump came out and said that he was kind of disappointed in Elon. He said that he'd have won Pennsylvania in the general election had it not been for Musk. And Elon and he had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore. So kind of expressing doubt on the future of their relationship. He then went on to say that he was going to cut some of Elon's government subsidies to the contracts. And he suggested that he asked Elon to leave, which Elon replied, like, look, this is a lie. And then Elon responded to at least the contract part by saying, in light of the president's statement about cancellation of government contracts. SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Then, I mean, Elon went full nuclear with this one. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Nice little sign off there. And then he went on to say the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. So really going full nuclear by the end of it, right? Like I think what might be considered, you know, he wouldn't be the only person that is critical of the bill, saying like this spending is too much. Maybe we should cut the deficit. Like, I don't think that in and of itself would be. I mean, maybe that really annoyed Trump and co, because it's the kind of thing they would get annoyed at too. But at least that's part of maybe a general legitimate criticism. Whereas I think towards the end there, you have like a very personal attack, which may or may not be true. Can't verify that. Plus this attack on the tariffs, which I guess would grate even harder against the Trump administration, given that that's basically a cornerstone of their future economic policy, right? Like they're hanging their hat on that policy. Like this is what is going to happen as part of the reorganization of the world economy. So that would be my short take, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Want to come to you, Brad, as well, and then definitely want to bring stats into this.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on that. It was Bitcoin reacted strongly to that, and then I was asking myself the question: if this continues to escalate, is this bullish Bitcoin? Not talking about the spending bill specifically, but if this is another layer of chaos that we have to face, and those two like clashing together more often, and is then the theory of Bitcoin being the chaos hedge working out? Apparently, Trump and Elon are supposed to have a call today, and I think there's been some replies that were a bit more moderate in tone after the full escalation. And Trump started posting on Truth Social for the day again, but is focusing now more on the fake news side of things and criticizing newspapers. It's not going back to that conflict for the time being. So I don't know.
It's kind of a funny thing to be like, yeah, the president's not involved in this drama now. He's just back to the usual drama of just calling the media fake news. Like that's the thing he's focusing on today.
I managed to say it without laughing, but now I can't. No, it's getting difficult. Anyhow, so yeah, I think per se for Bitcoin, the additional layer of chaos should be good. I don't know. Then I've seen a lot of like chatter. Is this, the classical thing that CT loves to do? Is this 4D chess? Was this the plan by Elon all along to form his own party, to get JD Vance to be the president after impeaching Trump? I don't think that. I think what Stats had said months ago, these are like two very powerful men who both have a sizable ego, and they will collide at one point. And I think this is exactly the crash outs that we see on both timelines. It's interesting that both do it on their own social media platform, because the one thing we laugh talking about on CT is like the founder-led marketing funnel. And basically, that's a beautiful example of that, because I can assume that both are onboarding more users to their platform by, just doing that on X and Truth Social respectively. I hope that a Brett is not going to take inspiration from those crash outs.
No, no, I won't. No, I won't. I had commented on a few posts yesterday, and I yeeted a few of my own posts. Like, I don't even know about Elon's existence on this platform unless something like this happens and everyone else starts like bringing him into my sphere. I actually followed him yesterday because like it was interesting enough that I wanted to at least keep up with it. I'll probably unfollow him today. Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely not 40 chess. I think I'll go on the record and say that, because yeah, like they're just egotistical men that, like, I don't know. Occam's razor, like you can, like, what is it? You can, or no, it's Hanlon's razor, which is like you can sufficiently, or I got two for it. It's a lesson. Hanlon's razor is you can sufficiently explain something with stupidity that can be that could become with malice, which is a little bit of this. I think they're just like dumb, egotistical guys. And then it's usually the Occam's razor is the simplest thing is probably the truth. thing, which is like, yeah, it's probably just these two guys that are beefing, and they're just like, they're so big that their waves are splashing all over the place. Yeah, so not terribly interesting. It sucks for our coins, obviously. I'm still in a perp position, not great, but you know, we ride. Yeah, not terribly interested in it, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit of kind of gossipy drama style stuff today, wasn't it? Curious to get Stats's take. Stats, I think you basically called this quite a few months ago. And so any of your general thoughts, plus some thoughts from the market? I think like Tesla was down 14%, maybe more understandably. But everything else doesn't seem too preoccupied. Bitcoin obviously dumped down to like 100 and it's bounced back to already to 103. Any thoughts on the market side too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I feel like a lot of times these huge blowups happen, and we think the markets are changed, and they're not. You know, and I think that that's kind of the case. Yeah, I think this is perhaps a bigger, to the extent that this is a big deal. It's a bigger deal for the Republican Party and the Trump administration than it is for the stock markets. The stock markets clearly don't like. I think the markets like kind of the bromance between Silicon Valley and the administration, and when that starts like that, I think that's probably a net positive for stock markets, maybe for crypto. So if you see something like this, that chips away at it a little bit. I agree with Brad. The idea that this was like fabricated is just so nonsensical and clearly made by people who have not been following these two men for a long time. I think there's just always this temptation to blame this unknown force for things you don't understand, and almost always, not always, but almost always, it's nonsensical. In this case, like we've seen this from Elon a lot of times. Like Elon has this mode where he gets pissed about something and then he dials in on his phone and he starts tweeting kind of and retweeting every vicious thing he can possibly find about it. And it's worked for him because, yeah, I mean, you can argue what it means to have worked for him, but like dunking on the libs has normally been that effort, and that's normally been something that kind of in his new persona has worked well for him. But he dialed into the exact same mode he's been in. He got in this exact same mode when he was pissed off about A1B visas. I don't remember what kind of visa, but the visas that would have prevented more people, more like engineers from India coming over. He got in this exact same mode then, and went nonstop on it back in February, and he did the same thing now. And this was just against Donald Trump. We've seen this mode from him before. It's a way he gets locked in. I think, you know, so this is nothing new. It's just it was very surprising to me that he was so non-strategic as to do it towards Donald Trump. And we've seen from Donald Trump, we've seen the way he's acting towards Harvard, that there are a lot of levers that the government has to be very negative towards people that Donald Trump doesn't like. You know, who would have thought that Donald Trump, like that he'd be able to specifically revoke the ability for international students to study specifically at Harvard? Well, there's something, you know, in the government that allows you to do that, and there's gonna be a lot of that with people he doesn't like. So I just found this extremely like non-strategic from Elon, but we've just seen him go down this path so many times before that at the end of the day, maybe it's not too surprising. Even though I thought this relationship would not last very long, I did not think it would go from them having a meeting 3 days ago to the extent to which they really kind of took swings at each other yesterday. But we'll see. My sense is that this relationship is over forever, but you know, who knows? Maybe it's in neither of their interests to dislike each other. So and they both, yeah, so much so that I can see it maybe getting patched up a little bit, at least aesthetically. So we'll see.
Mute, sir.
Yeah, appreciate the thought stats, but like, damn, he really pressed the nuclear button, didn't he, with some of that stuff. Ledge, okay, so it looks like maybe our view is, okay, this is just a bit of these guys messing around. Crypto maybe ultimately unaffected, although, you know, it's a bit of a red day in general, which maybe it was due even a little bit since we've been touching the highs anyway. Tesla was down 14% though. Ledge, you bought Tesla not so long ago, way lower than here, I think, because, you know, I think it kind of really rallied from the lows from where they were. You concerned just from that perspective? Like, what's your concern level there?
No, actually, I bought more Tesla yesterday.
Oh,
That's the only thing that I did.
why?
I think that Stats is right by saying like none of the two is benefiting by like dragging this out. Yes, obviously, Trump has loads of means to make Elon's life and Elon's company life harder. But I think that, what was it, a 14% dip or so on the day is just a bit too much, and the market will recover from that. That was just my bet on it.
Okay.
Do you guys think this extends beyond this week? Like, do you like everyone, all the conversations I was seeing both on Spaces and on Time was like, okay, now like we're going to be in for some hurt and volatility for the next, couple of weeks, months. Do you think this is a something that bounces back relatively quickly, or do you think this thing has lasting impact?
Personally, with no specific information, just instinct and a guess, I think it blows over. To be honest, I don't think you can keep. I know Elon does this. I know it's like very ingrained in him to do this routinely. I don't think he can do this over and over again to the president.
This being crash outs?
No, as in no, he can crash out however much he wants with however many people he likes, but I don't think you can do it to the president. Basically, I don't think. I don't like there'll be a point.
This president specifically.
Well, yeah, because
I would say he's a little more vindictive.
Yeah, specifically this one, arguably, yeah, because he goes after other world leaders as well, right? If he feels like they're not kind of in line with some of his ethos in some ways, but yeah, this one specifically, I think it will not be the correct strategy from a business perspective. Him to rightly or wrongly, it will not be the correct strategy. So I think he'll have to tone it down. But
you could argue though that going after, I mean, a dude who's where Tesla's 85% of their buyers are environmentally conscious liberals, it probably was not in his interest to go after so to dunk on the libs nonstop for a year, and destroy his market share in basically all of Europe. And his sales down 11% year on year. Like, this is not an actor who is constantly thinking in terms of long-term strategic vision for his companies. Like, he's very emotional, and like lets something get the best of him,
Yeah. Let's see with that. I think that's completely fair points. Kind of, yeah, an unreasonable actor. It's like an irrational actor is hard to predict. Maybe the only thing that you can predict is that he'll be irrational in some of this stuff. Let's keep it moving. We've only got 12 minutes left today. Ledge, definitely want to give you a chance to touch on Circle and the activity there. Pretty exciting stuff for Circle on its IPO day. What happened? What do we need to know?
Yeah, absolutely. Massive IPO, massive success yesterday for Circle. IPO was priced at $31, came out at $69, touched $100, went up so quickly that trading had to be halted because of the increased volatility a couple of times. Currently, on pre-markets, it is up another 12%, trading at $93. Market closed yesterday at $83. So if you just put that in perspective to the IPO price of $31, the stock is up 166%. So definitely a massive, massive success from that perspective. The other thing I would like to add to that is a post by DC Investor, quite well-known investor in the space, who said, a Circle doubles on IPO launch day under exceptional demand. Circle has 70% of their stablecoins on Ethereum L1 and L2s, buying more ETH. Full disclosure, there obviously is that DC Investor is a massive ETH bull. But I've seen a couple more people kind of joining this discussion and saying or sharing the thought that liquidity for crypto could dry up for two reasons, because we see more money flowing into BTC on the ETF side of things, obviously BTC dominance being still pretty high, and now having these full crypto IPO plays as another means for more institutional investors to get exposure to crypto by just buying the Circle stock. So this could be sucking liquidity out of meme coins maybe, or out of other altcoins. That was, I think, a reasonable perspective that was shared on the timeline. So I wanted to add that as well.
I like that take. I like that take a lot. I'm of the opinion that yes, the ETF. Imagine before, if you wanted to get involved in crypto, you had to get on chain in some way, and once you get on chain, then you can be tempted around. Like maybe you hold some Bitcoin, maybe you hold some ETH, maybe you then start dabbling in other things. But the fact that you can just get Bitcoin from the ETF, that was like round one of cutting the connection between crypto participants and alts. It's like, you're not going to get a load of useless alts in these respectable accounts. Most people are going to just allocate to their Bitcoin and be happy and probably not really even think about it. So, but then there's no easy way to go from one to the other. So I thought that was like round one of it. And I think you're right. Like now, if you're a big capital allocator and you're about to get the opportunity to have more ways to allocate towards the industry, which does not require you to do this weird stuff on chain, to deal with any of the issues or security or any of those things, you can go for reputable companies with proper business models that are going to keep coming to market. So I definitely like that idea.
I think
Stats.
it just gives us more edge, though. Like,
Yeah.
I like, because every layer that you add on to, like, the source requires someone collecting a fee of some point. Like, and yeah, like, sure, certainly someone will do that thing, but like, I think the boon for us will always be, or the golden goose will eventually be, that things ICO on chain, because like it is materially different. I know there's a lot of like financial rails that are in place for doing a traditional ICO, but if we can actually get net new assets that are issued on chain, and like have everyone then start collecting them further away from us and paying a premium to do so, the incentive will always be there to bring a more fee reduced and or more direct product to market, so that get closer to on chain. So I don't know. I think it's still just directionally good for us.
Yeah, we had this news on the snapshot this week. I think it was Uzbekistan, which said that they're going to double list IPOs on obviously the stock exchange on the one hand, and on Solana on the other hand. Another more personal experience on that was I tried to buy Circle yesterday, and holy shit, it's the first time I tried to buy an IPO. Holy shit, is the user experience of being on a like traditional brokerage account.
What was it like?
So bad.
You couldn't turn up the gas.
I couldn't get a price quote. Like I tried it with two brokers, and yet it worked with another one, but I couldn't get a price quote. The Austrian broker still, as of now, is struggling to give you a price for Circle. You can't market buy it. You have to look up the price and put a fucking limit order in, which is outrageous because it's 16 hours after the stock IPO. It's outrageous that the shit is not working yet. Yeah. And it's insane if you compare to trying to get, I don't know, like even buying the Trump meme coin, which had insane demand on Solana. You were spamming the button, you were increasing slippage, but you were able to get that through. Yes, on ETH, you can just crank up the gas to insane amounts and front run everyone else. That's also not the healthy solution. But I was like, it's frustrating. I wasn't able to buy that.
It's only a matter of time.
Interesting. Just want to go to Stats as well on this IPO. Stats, what was your thought on Circle clearly being, well, incredibly oversubscribed and just coming out way hotter than what was predicted?
I don't think it's too surprising. I mean, stablecoins has been a very hot theme. The company makes $1.7 billion in revenue, and they're trying to go public at $7 billion, which in the scheme of crypto valuations, I think felt like a pretty reasonable deal. The criticisms I've heard people say are one that their margins are going down a lot. I think that basically just means that like they make interest because people give them dollars and they give them USDC, but more and more they have to pass that through to customers. They have to pay Coinbase. There are a lot of different ways that they're not actually able to keep the interest they make. And if you look at, their revenue grew 2x over the course of the past 2 years, from 2022 to 2024, they doubled their revenue, but their actual earnings, the amount of money they get to keep, went down. And I think that's because they're forced to pass on more and more of their revenue to users. But at the end of the day, it's a good business. I only use USDC personally. I think most people either use Tether or USDC. Like, it feels like it has some network effect kind of moat, even though a lot more, like PayPal started a stable coin. A lot of folks have started stable coins, but at the end of the day, we all just use USDC. So it feels like there's some real moat there. And as this market continues to grow, which it certainly has a huge regulatory tailwind, and if crypto continues to expand, like, it feels like a good business. Like, I'm not too surprised it popped off. The other thing is, I'm I was an early investor in the ETF DXYZ before it was public, and DXYZ, the valuation makes zero sense in the public markets, but it owns a little bit of SpaceX. So it's the only way that public investors can get access to SpaceX. And the result is it's trading at like 7 times book value, which makes zero sense. Like there's no economic reason for this to be trading at 7 times book value. But it's been doing that for basically a year now. So I think that sometimes these valuations can just kind of take on a life of their own. And even if you don't think the valuation makes sense, if this is the one way to get access to this stablecoin theme, then
Yes.
I think it makes sense that it's trading well. I also posted a post. It did not get much movement on X, but it was one that I kind of really align with. And one of my observations of the space, people will. I saw a lot of people talking about why the Circle valuation at $7 billion doesn't make sense, but then talk about how Pepe or Dogecoin at $7 billion are free. It's just kind of funny how we have totally different standards when it comes to actual real businesses that generate cash flow versus what we call like cultural assets. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the rally makes sense though, and I'm not one to predict where stocks are going, but I wasn't surprised. I actually tweeted the day before that I thought it was going to pop off on the IPO.
Like it. I think the 2 points you made, which definitely resonate with me, is some of the criticisms when you dive into the numbers, as you said, like declining profit because of how they're kind of vulnerable on the distribution side. They got to give a lot up to Coinbase. I think that was definitely some of the legitimate concerns. But as you say, sometimes the timing in the market and just like where the market is with the stablecoin narrative, it's the only publicly accessible way to get a slice of this action, I think. So I think there's definitely a little bit to do with that too. You also mentioned the USDC moat. I think that's definitely true of kind of the West. Like the West seems to, for whatever reason, align maybe more with USDC. USDT is way more used in general. And that's why I'm very curious, Brad, for this kind of stable chain. We know Plasma is doing their pre-sale. I think it's on Monday. Plasma is the chain, which is, in fact, I'll let you set it up, Brett. What is this stable chain? Another L1 involved with Tether.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot to take away. We had a single announcement. I'll give you a high level of who backs it and then what they do, just so we can wrap this up. So it's backed by Bitfinex, and then it has the Tether CEO Paulo as an advisor. So like it's a very similar like structural setup to the Plasma chain. What it does is there's like a few key features. So it has USDT as the native gas. It has free peer-to-peer USD transfers. USDT 0 will allow for cross-chain transfers. Smart contracts run on stablecoins. Apps can offer gasless UX. Fiat on-ramps. They're prioritizing a lot of these institutional integrations so that like professional players can come on board, even offering like an enterprise lane for some of their transactions. Like reading through a lot of the quote tweets and people commenting on it, like it says that it's like highly scalable, low latency, all this stuff, but they don't give any backing on it other than like deep in their documentations. They mentioned some of the mechanisms they use, like Ethermint, which is not seen as like a high throughput thing. So my interpretation of this, again, we're just going on these posts, is just that like we're going to start seeing a little bit of a rush of these types of chains coming forward, and it is in Paulo's and Tether's best interest to be the coin on all of these things. So like, why not? Like it's just more and more and more of his adoption and more and more of these places. So he's okay, like endorsing these things, advising these things, getting USDT to be the thing at the bottom. It's like the exact same reason that it got to the place, or got to where it is now, right? Because Tron opted for that over USDC because because it got these network effects, it's continued to grow at an insane rate. So I think it's just like the next wave of that. He's endorsing these things, pushing these things, and trying to offer totally abstracted on-chain experiences in a bunch of different form factors.
Okay. So I definitely understand that thinking. Thank you for the summary. It's very, very helpful. Ledge, final question before we close for the day, because we're kind of on time. What does this mean as an investor though? Like everyone like 24 hours ago was thinking, right, full port Tether chain, which is Plasma. Plasma equals Tether chain. And look, whether or not that's literally how it works, because it's an independent team. Paolo's an investor in it.
Yeah, do we know what's his relationship with Plasma? Because like this one was specifically called out as an advisor, which feels materially weaker.
An investor in Plasma.
Yeah.
Along with Kobe, and a couple of other.
So
prominent
he's
people.
paying for one and he's getting paid for the other.
Yes, let's definitely double check that. But I think that is the scenario. I agree with you in the sense that, like, look, in the end, being involved in more of them, if they're going to exist, is better for them to be involved, because then USDT becomes the default coin. But the problem is, as an investor looking at the plasma sale on Monday, like, what is this
It
tether
makes
chain
some
or is it not?
hesitancy now. Yeah, like I don't want a third plane to hit the tower.
Yeah, Ledge, what do you think?
100% certain that these are disconnected. Like Bitfinex let I don't want to put the tinfoil hat on, but Bitfinex let the plasma round. Bitfinex is doing stable. Are these 100% disconnected, or is there any?
How can they be connected? They're two L1s.
I have no idea. It's like really spraying paint on the wall and doing stable chains, stable coin chains, or is there any connection?
I mean, to me, it's no different than like we got Sui and Aptos back to back, and then we got Movement a little bit after.
Oh, Brett, you went on mute.
Wait, so I think I got unplugged. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you stopped moving, but we can hear you from a different audio source.
Yeah, great face.
Hello, we got you.
Nope, I think it's dead. Just go without me.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing that I'll say, the name is great. Like I'm surprised they got the stable handle on X, and I'm surprised that nobody else has had the idea yet to just call a stablecoin chain stable. It's the perfect name for that.
Yeah, pretty good name. Okay, well, it sounds like they probably need to do a little bit more research and figure out precisely, is there some connection? Which chain is the tether chain? Maybe the realistic outcome is there will be no one individual tether chain. There'll be lots of associated chains, and just definitely got to, I think that would be the key determining factor for me drilling down as a potential investor. What I need to find out over the next couple of days, what anyone else should be looking into over the next couple of days, if they're considering participating on the XPL plasma pre-sale. Or it's not a pre-sale on Monday, so you got to deposit your money and then you get an allocation. So that's the key thing I would be double checking over the weekend as you enjoy the summer, which it now officially is. Guys, that is our show for today. Hope you enjoyed it as usual. Thank you so much to my co-hosts, Legendary and Bread. Thanks to Stats and Oxy for jumping up with us also and contributing excellently. And thanks so much for joining us. Just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X video. We're live on YouTube. And you can catch us on Apple and Spotify podcasts if you prefer to catch up in that way. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you back with us on Monday. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.